Hey everybody, let's do a comparison video of the Hungarian PA-63 and the Russian commercial model Makarov. There are some obvious similarities and not so obvious differences. First of all, they both fire the 9x18mm Makarov, which in ballistics is actually closer to the .380 round, but still served its purpose for 40 years in the holsters of military police and civilian police in countries like Bulgaria, Hungary, Germany, China, Russia, and served them well. These little guns are incredibly accurate. They are snappy on recoil, so for beginning shooters I would not advise it, or you may not get them to go back to the range with you again if they think they have to shoot these little guns again. Now, in the hands of a person who knows what the recoil is going to be and they appreciate the accuracy and the history of these are nice little collectible pieces. Now, both of these were designed in the 40s, put into service in the 50s. Both of them have fixed barrels to the frame. They both have chrome-lined barrels. They both have similar recoil springs. They both have decockers, which works like this. You drop this lever here, it lowers the hammer without contacting the firing pin. Push the lever back up would actuate your trigger to the forward position, and your first shot would be a long double action trigger pull. And the double action on this one is about 16 pounds, on the Makarov is about 11 pounds. But those can be easily remedied with maybe a Wolf hammer spring kit. I think they make a 9-pound hammer spring kit for this, which really lightens that double action up. I think they make an 8-pound or something for the Makarov, which really smooth out that double action trigger nicely. Now, of course, after your double action trigger pulls, we all know about decockers. It puts your hammer to the rearward position, and your trigger has a shorter reset, and your subsequent shots are single action. So it would look like that on your semi-automatic handgun. Now, on the Makarov, the safety decocker works in the opposite position. You would actually push up to decock the hammer and push down to keep the trigger in the forward position. So those are not so obvious differences, although the similarities are the same. They both have decockers. Now, of course, this one was made in Hungary, that was made in Russia, and the Chinese, Bulgarians, they also made versions of the Makarov. The Czechoslovakians made the CZ-82, which would fire the Makarov round, and I also have one of those. I'll do a video on that later on. Be watching for that. But the differences outweigh the similarities by far. This is an aluminum alloy frame, so it is a little bit lighter. Recoil is a bit snappier on this one. With the Makarovs, it is an all-steel frame. The recoil is managed a little bit better. With the PA-63, they have very low-profile, standard, rudimentary military-type sights with a very small notch in the rear. But you know, they're not real great for quick point and shoot, but they work. This one has the fully adjustable rear sight, which is real nice. They both have slender grips, although on the PA-63, as you can see here, it's got a finger rest on the stock grips. To love it or hate it, but there it is. On the Makarov, you don't have such a thing. It's very slender, very easy to conceal and put in a holster. With the PA-63, you have a 7-round magazine with a pinky extension, which is nice. With the Makarov, you have an 8-round magazine with no pinky extension. It fits real flush with the bottom of the grip. They break down exactly the same way, and I'll show you that in another video. But you know, you pull down on the trigger guard here, as you can see that moves. You pull down on that, and then you lift back on the slide and forward, and it falls right off the barrel. And you pull the spring off, and you clean the barrel because it's fixed to the frame. So those are exactly the same. The Makarovs, most all of the Makarovs have a lanyard loop built into the frame. There is no such animal on the PA-63. The magazine release on the PA-63 is up here in more of a traditional fashion, although firm and not easy to press, it's still there in more of a traditional location. On the Makarov, it's not a deal breaker, it's just you got to get used to it. It's the European mag release down here. You pull back on it, and it's not a drop-free mag. You actually pull the mag out with your hand. But that's kind of nice. The Makarov has a slide release, slide catch. PA-63 has no such animal. Okay? The PA-63 is actually a much simpler design than a Makarov. That's neither good nor bad. Now, another not so obvious difference with the Makarov and the PA-63 is the PA-63, the firing pin, you actually have a firing pin spring, like, you know, a lot of your semi-automatics. With a Makarov, you have no such thing. It is a free-floating firing pin. And there's been a lot of controversy over the last 40 years about carrying a Makarov with one in the pipe and, you know, getting your gun jostled around in your holster or whatever, if it was possible for that firing pin to contact the primer on that round, since it's not you know, protected by a spring tension. Well, I'm sure that might have happened in the past, but probably so few times you rarely ever hear about it. The design is still safe. The design is tried and true, but just so you're aware of that fact, it does have a free-floating firing pin. It is not secured by a spring. So just a little bit of info for you there. And that's about it. They're both great shooters. Now, my opinion on it, and I love them all, but I think the PA-63 points much nicer and much more naturally, holds in the hand more naturally than the Makarov. The Makarov points nice, but it just seems more square than the PA-63. But that's neither good nor bad. That's personal taste. But then I love them all. Those are the differences and similarities between your Russian Makarov and your Hungarian PA-63. I hope you've learned something. If you're looking at maybe picking up one of these, you're going to have to buy it from a private seller because they don't import these anymore. You're going to have a hard time finding a nice one. But if you do, I would advise going ahead and getting it if you're into Milsurp stuff, because you'd be hard-pressed to find a more accurate pistol in a smaller caliber out there. You probably wouldn't, is the truth of the matter. Be looking for range videos. I know for sure I'm going to take these two to the range. I want you to see how accurate they are. I mean, they just put a ragged hole through the center of the target at 15 yards all day long. Be looking for that. Thank you, and I will catch you next time.